I'll say this, God, and I just, Franklin Graham is going to be on a bus tour visiting all 50 states. He's going to be at the state capitol in Lansing on Tuesday morning. Franklin Graham. Billy Graham's son. Franklin's Purse, I think, is his nonprofit where he raises money and helps.
And he's endorsed from it too, hasn't he?
Samaritan's Purse. And I don't know who he's endorsing. But he is going to be in Lansing on the Capitol steps Tuesday, October 4th, from 12 o'clock until 1 o'clock. So if you can get away for that, kindly do so.
And we could hear
and know this, Franklin Graham preaches that God loves all of his children, even the wayward ones. And as long as they are breathing, they have opportunity for redemption.
Yes, they do.
All right? So we do not want to cast stones on people. We want to help them. We want to simply be the messengers that help them get on track. Now, Hillary Clinton is only a year older than me, so she was in high school when I was in high school. She's just a regular person who's had a journey through life. She's had lessons, and she's had people teach her and form her. We need to inform the likes of her so that we can help make bad things good and good things better as we strive to our best good. And we know that that's going to happen in the end because everyone here who's read that book knows how the book finishes. All right? And it doesn't finish with a finish, it finishes with a new beginning. Where things that went wrong will thereafter be going right. That's my understanding. Can't say it any other way. One of the things I want to do today, I actually went to the internet and picked up the Washtenaw County slate of candidates. So before we're done here tonight, we're going to kind of go through this slate of candidates to see who is running for offices that we need to somehow get behind and fight here because the clock is ticking for the election. And Donald Trump may still stop by here if we start to boost our attendance in the things that we're able to make a difference on here in Washtenaw County. But it requires our active effort doing things. And I'm just a messenger. And there's a few things that I get rather excited about, passionate about, and actively doing things about. But there's also things that you are the same way on, so we need to surface those. So that having been said, we'll come back to this in a moment. What I want to do for starters here tonight is play a Frank Beckman interview of L. Brooks Patterson, which just occurred this week. And L. Brooks Patterson is upset with our governor, and he's upset with our president because they are sending refugees into his county without his knowledge or awareness, and they refuse to let him know who, what, where, when. They're just filtering them in. Now, he is a prominent politician who has a tremendous track record of success. Oakland County is one of the few counties in the country that is in the positive with regard to its cash flow, because he does a 3-year budget. He hires the right people, puts them in places of authority to run the county fiscally responsibly. Donald Trump, I believe, will do that same thing with our country should he get that seat in the Oval Office without having to raise taxes. The opponent from the party whose card I carry wants to simply raise taxes and provide more. And bring in more refugees, 100,000, that cannot be properly vetted.
Hey Mike, one thing before you play that, there's another issue that L. Brooks Patterson and other Republicans are aware of. In Dearborn, when these refugees are coming in from Syria, they're coming in and they're not being assimilated to our culture. They're bringing their Sharia law.
Right.
And what they're finding is the Michigan Department of Health and Human Resources are being overloaded economically and financially.
We're going to listen to L. Brooks Patterson talk about those exact same issues. That's what's going on. And polygamy. Again, that's part of what they do with their culture when they bring that over here. That's why Sharia law has no-go zones in England and other places, because they want to run their families and their communities exactly as they were in their old country, rather than assimilate to, because if they assimilate to the United States and under the Constitution as we're set, they will have to deny what the teachings of the Quran tell them to do and how they should live. All right, so that's a complex matter that we can't even begin to touch on. And I'm saying to you, when you listen to L. Brooks Patterson, you're going to know that at his level, he can't get much done. So there's not much we can do at our level here.
Bill Schuette would have to.
For that matter,
You'll-
It says a
you'll
penal
hear.
code, Michigan Penal Code.
L. Brooks Patterson can sit down with Bill Schuette at any time and do almost anything. So I'm going to backtrack over here real quick.
for that matter, it's legal for them in their culture
No.
to essentially rape a woman that they find attractive.
Yeah,
And
we're gonna watch the video and then have conversation.
I'm just going to take a breath. There are things that we cannot do anything about. And we cannot change the culture that has been ingrained into individuals who are refugees that are being allowed into this country, and they bring nothing with them to make this country a better place.
That's right.
This is the place for them to seek and get refuge and be taken care of. All right? Our immigration system, which is not broke, needs to be enforced and worked the way it's set up. Refugees need to be screened, they need to have a sponsor, and they need to show how they can make America better. And then we'll let them in. The debate on Monday night is going to surface a lot because Hillary wants to bring in 100,000. Donald wants to close the door until we know what's going on. And those are some serious points.
Actually, Mike, it's the population of Detroit, just in 1 year. Like 700,000 more.
Yesterday in the Oakland Press, there was a headline about Patterson, and he said in the schools.
All right, before I play L. Brooks Patterson's interview, what I want to do is go with a Breitbart news article that was written specifically about what's going on in Oakland County. And so we're going to hit on this, and I'll just calmly and quietly read it as we see and figure out what the heck's going on.
that's one thing we should watch right there. Clinton
And remember
cash.
last week, that guy said that they're supposed to let the executive director know ahead of time, and they didn't do it. They went
We
against the
know
law.
that the people who are in position of ultimate power and authority over we, the citizens of this country, don't care about the rules. They want to do what they want to do
Yeah.
to satisfy their own agenda, which is a hidden agenda. We don't know what it is. We can only surmise what it is based on hindsight and knowing what has happened. All right?
I called Patterson's office yesterday,
Yeah.
and they said other people called too. I told them, I said, thanks for standing up for the people. I know it's against the law for the president to do what he's doing.
All right, Obama administration to Oakland County, Michigan. No, we won't comply with refugee law.
It's treason.
We can't judge that. We can say those things right now, but what we say in here doesn't make any difference. I just want you to have some understanding that there are people who are pushing this out there far beyond what we're capable of doing right now. This made Breitbart news. As an article, we're going to read it and know that what you're thinking and feeling is already out there to the tune of hundreds, if not millions of people reading. And then we'll hear Brooks Patterson, who knows exactly what is in your heart and in your head, and he's trying to do something about it. We need to get behind people like him who already are trying to take action and let them know that we support what he is doing. We don't have to convince him. That's what caused this whole article to even happen, because he made effort to shut the water stream down. And so I want to read this so that we know exactly what he did or said.
Hey, Mike,
Yeah.
next question. Are most in that picture, most of them are men?
Yeah, most of them are men. We've heard that on the news over and over again. In fact, they're 18 to 20, 32-year-olds. All right, that's something that everyone who is tuned in knows. But the problem is, 80% of the population isn't tuned in. 80% of and of that 80%, 20% think they're tuned in, and they think because they've been told that these people are being vetted, and that's a 2-year process for them to get approved to come in, because that's what they're being fed and told. So they're saying, bring them on in because we're helping them because they're all being vetted. We know they're not.
That's right.
But we are not the majority. So we have to boil this down to simple information that we can share with somebody else who can read it, and it stands scrutiny. Our words, you know, who are you? You don't know. I'm saying me. That's what they say to me. You know, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, we're vetting all these people. You don't know what you're talking about. Donald Trump's the biggest liar. You can go to AccuFacts or something, and Donald Trump is like 90% a liar, and Hillary Clinton is like 26% a liar. So we can believe Hillary and not believe Donald Trump. Robert Carey, the Obama administration's director of the Office of Refugee Resettlement, recently told Oakland County, Michigan, that the agency he directs has no intention of complying with the Refugee Act of 1980s.
That goes back to 1980.
Requirement that it consult regularly with local governments concerning the sponsorship process and the intended distribution among the states and localities before their placement in those states and localities. In a letter to Carey dated June 17th, Oakland County Executive Al Brooks Patterson wrote,
I'd like to know is what's Governor Snyder's response to that?
you'll hear when you hear the interview, Governor Snyder is okay with it. In a letter to Carey, Patterson said, "It has come to my attention that between October 1, 2015 and May 31, 2016, 1,860 refugees have been placed in the state of Michigan. Of those 1,860 refugees, estimates are that hundreds of them have been resettled in Oakland County. Oakland County has not been consulted with respect to the placement of refugees in our jurisdiction. Exact numbers of refugees placed in Oakland County are not readily available, as the federal government is not performing its statutory duty to consult with local governments as discussed below. Patterson then requested and demanded that the Office of Refugee Resettlement provide Oakland County with all pertinent information regarding all refugees settled in Oakland County in the past 2 years. 2, begin the consulting with us quarterly as required by federal law concerning refugees to be resettled in the county in the future. Kerry's response to Patterson's demand was condescending and dismissive. Concerning your request about consultation, Michigan submitted a state plan for fiscal year 2016 describing resettlement activities in the state. In the state plan, Michigan stated that consultation meetings would be convened on at least a quarterly basis with representatives of local affiliates of resettlement agencies, state and local government agencies, and other community-based organizations that serve refugees. These meetings are held in each of the 3 resettlement regions in Michigan. Additionally, the Michigan Refugee Advisory Council facilitates coordination among resettlement partners across the state. I encourage you to work with state officials to ensure you are included in these consultation meetings in the future. ORR, in turn, works through the state refugee coordinator and its regional representatives to maintain open communication in the state. Kerry places the burden for finding out about these consultation meetings and attending them on Oakland County. How far did I go on that other one?
Okay, now we're, so the Refugee Act.
Of 1980.
Refugee Act, that's what we got.
Thank you. The Refugee Act of 1980, however, specifically requires that all public health problems associated with specific refugees be reported to county officials, as Breitbart reported. Refugee resettlement agencies are required by the Refugee Act of 1980 to assure that refugees known to the agencies as having been identified as having medical conditions affecting the public health and requiring treatment, such as active and latent TB, report to the appropriate county or other health agency that their health status is subsequently monitored by both the county and other health agencies. When county, state, and other health agencies have this data, which can have an impact on public health in their professional but conceal it from the public, The most common jurisdiction provided by the governmental entities and resettlement agencies is that providing data on the entire refugee population in a specific area would be a violation of HIPAA laws and requirements that govern individual health privacy. Fulton County, Michigan is an affluent suburban Detroit county with a population of 1.2 million. As Breitbart previously reported, 360 Syrian refugees were resettled in Oakland County during the first 11 months of fiscal year 2016, more than the number resettled in 40 states. 2 states, Alabama and Texas, have undertaken litigation to compel the Office of Refugee Resettlement to comply with the Consultation Clause of the Refugee Act of 1980. The Texas case was dismissed by the Federal District Court. Alabama lost in Federal District Court and is currently appealing the decision. So we know how appointed judges in federal courts rule based on who appointed them. All right? We know how the Federal Department of Justice and the Attorney General deal with their things. So that having been said, now we're going to bounce over to the L. Brooks Patterson interview.
I just wanted to mention that Patterson was on Channel 4 the night before last, and he said they found TV in our schools and the hospitals from the refugees. And I looked, they're putting them in Bloomfield Hills, West Bloomfield Hills. I told in yesterday's paper, he told yesterday's paper, but Patterson fighting that. So I called Patterson about it, and I told him thank you. And they said, Mom, the people called too, and said thank you. It's right by where I live. I don't, any place, shouldn't be anywhere, but they should have let them know beforehand, they didn't, that's against the law, they did it, kept it against the law.
Obama broke so many laws, he doesn't care.
They were supposed to let them know. Because he's the executive director, you know, of Oakland County, the head person, everything stops there. He doesn't care. I hope that he, they should have it on the mainstream TV that they're having TV in the schools now, because it's very, very contagious, very contagious. And I didn't see it at Veterans Hospital with TV, she had to wear a mask.
It's like a cancer.
Well, it's something that it's hard to get rid of, and it's very, very contagious. I use cough. And when I was teaching, every year we had to get tested for it, every year. And then late 99, they said, no, we don't test it anymore because it's gone. It was eradicated. But now, because of this going on,
Obama wants it back in the States.
you can't get rid of it. And once you get it, everybody else is getting it. That's what's bad about it. I used to work as a nurse's aide years ago, and I had to go wash the bed in another room because someone had to be glad to wash that bed down. During the summer, I worked as a nurse's aide. That was back in the 1960s, middle 60s. Yeah, we had TV. They told me, I go in this room and wash the bed down with soap and water. I had TV. They were very, very hot, and that got eradicated. It got eradicated. But now, coming across the border with stuff, and refugees. And they won't even talk about it in a mainstream media. When I heard Patterson say that the other day on Channel 4, that's the first time I heard anybody say anything on the mainstream TV about TV. And I'm so thankful he did. Because he's the only one that said anything. When other places are always a top rater. But I didn't want anybody to know. They should be telling everybody about that. to quarantine people?
Hey, it's a Tuesday edition of the Frank Beckman Show. Great to have you with us in the spot where we always keep you the best informed audience in all of radio. Did you stay up last night and watch the CBS John and Ramsey special? We had Jim Clemente on last week, remember, the former FBI agent who put that whole special together. Where this is 20 years after John and Ramsey was murdered in Colorado at her family's home on Christmas Eve. And so they redid the entire investigation. They obviously didn't have the evidence, the exact evidence, but it was absolutely compelling. It was 2 nights worth, and last night it was still 11 o'clock when you wake up at 4 in the morning. There's not much sleep, but it was so worth it. We're going to talk about it with Werner Spitz, Dr. Werner Spitz, the former Wayne County medical examiner. He was part of the panel they put together to go over the evidence that they could. And we'll have Dr. Spitz on this morning to discuss it. I hope you saw the show. Anyway, let's begin by backtracking just a hair here. Yesterday we had Michael Patrick Leahy on from Breitbart. And last week he had a story that identified a problem here in Michigan. That Breitbart uncovered and is slowly but surely getting the information through FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests. And it's about tuberculosis cases in the state of Michigan, specifically those related to the immigrants that are being brought here by the United States government. And the president today at the UN is expected to announce a huge increase in the number of refugees from the Middle East that he wants to bring into the United States in the next year. Now, we have seen an explosion in a number of different maladies in different parts of the country. But TB in Oakland County, active tuberculosis, well, apparently an Iraqi refugee was diagnosed with it last year. Finally, the Oakland County Health and Human Services Department found out about it. Brooks Patterson sent letters to the feds saying, hey, what are you doing here? You got to give us information on this before you send these refugees. And the feds just said, no, forget what the law says, that we got to consult with you. We're not doing it. And Brooks Patterson's joining us this morning to talk about all this, and we're happy to have him back on the show. I trust, Brooks, that the problem with the TB case is isolated and not widespread?
How widespread it is. That's the problem. We think it's significantly higher than 1. Could be a couple dozen, could be more. But one of my concerns is they're not vetting them, they're not giving them the physical they have to give them. By vetting, I mean they're not screening and letting people in here. Now, how long? I said, you let in, oh my God, 85,000 I guess this year. Now they will 120 next year. Everybody from Comey, the FBI, from the National Security Administration, all the way down the line, say that even some of these imams that we're going to try and slip in some terrorists among those people who are fleeing the battle and the oppression. You can't tell them apart. They couldn't in. We invited them in. We put them right into our neighborhoods. Pontiac has a sizable community going in. Well, that's how I found out about them. And they bought a school, and it's going to be a community center. And they're serious about this. And you can't just write it off on the federal government. They're the ones that are starting it. But they turn it over to the state public health administration, health and human services. And they in turn have handed it off to 9 different groups who are charities, basically. We look at the National Catholic Bishops Association. Of course, I'm a Catholic. That annoys me. The Lutherans have Presbyterians have a social arm, if you will. And these 9 groups are bringing them in as fast as they can get them. And they're claiming the feds have a responsibility for checking them out. And so feds are saying, no, all we do is bring them in to drop the screen. And what's happened, believe it or not, Frank, and I'm glad you and I are talking this way so the public can know. Oakland County leads Michigan. Actually, I haven't city by city. Leads Michigan in refugee resettlement, and Michigan leads the nation. So we are right in the middle of this fight, and it's been very quiet and sub rose up till now. And I brought my legal team in from the county, and we were about to sue them. to give an injunction stopping them from relocating people into this community until the rules are adhered to, implemented, the screening rule, the vetting process. And in the process of getting ready for the lawsuit, we did a lot of research, and we had to meet with the state. That's one of the requirements. You have to get the state notice. So we gave them notice that we're moving in that direction. So they said, let's have a meeting. Finally, let's have a meeting. In the meantime, our legal staff gives me the statute, the federal law. And the federal law could not be more specific. It wasn't, you may want to inform the local, and in the Mission County, right, you may want to inform the local county official. It says you shall notify the local county officials and community to which these people are being assigned. So I had a meeting, I had the Sheriff's Department, the 3 major command officers on the Sheriff Brigade, had the state police, had Homeland Security, had, who else was there? Health Department, any agency that might have had in Oakland County. And so I asked him in front of the director of the Health Department, not Health Department, keeping community mental health, Mission Department of Health and Human Services. Right. And I said, any of you people gotten a call in compliance with the law notifying that people, refugees are being resettled. Down the line, no. What are you guys doing? So it was pretty contentious meeting. We're not done yet. We're still researching. We've talked to the lady a couple of times, Jack Mackey. He's talked to my legal department probably a dozen times. And we're still gathering the facts and doing the research, but it's not very pleasant.
All right, well, I want to get into some more details here because it seems like we're getting a lot of double talk from a lot of different people, and I'll cover that with you, Brooks. Stay with us. We got to take a quick break to traffic and weather. We'll be back with Brooks Patterson on this whole refugee settlement issue here in the state of Michigan, specifically in Oakland County, because President Obama today is expected to announce an expansion of the program to bring even more here, and we'll find out what it means to us on the Frank Beckman Show, always to be relied on to keep you the best informed audience in all of radio. So Breitbart's Michael Patrick Leahy started pulling the cover back on this TB story from refugees from the Middle East. Every state that's had refugees has seen at least one of those refugees develop a TB case in the States. TB, which has for the most part been eradicated in our country, hasn't it, Brooks? I mean, you don't get a lot of TB cases in Oakland County, do you?
Well, no, and when we do, it's worth a news story, but now we're not so sure because we've got really infiltrated. And nobody's taking blame. Nobody's saying, well, I made the decision to locate him there. I made the decision to put him in your community. Troy, Sandy, Recipient, Pontiac, Novak. And once they're there, and that's the first place they stopped up and said they don't migrate the next day someplace else. And they don't know it. They don't have that kind of control over it.
Here's my issue there, and why I said earlier I think we're getting a lot of doublespeak from people, is the feds are saying, look, we're vetting these people before they even come here. We make sure through the UN and other agencies, we check out, we make sure that people are safe, they're healthy before we even bring them here. Well, maybe not. Now the feds are telling us, well, the state's doing it, and so all is good because the state's doing it. And the law says you must tell local communities like Oakland County that you're putting these people here and communicate with them. And you complained to the head of the Office of Refugee Resettlement, Robert Carey, and he told you basically to go pound sand, didn't he?
Yep. And so it's just, that finger pointing that wasn't me, we shoot, and it goes all the way around. There's a lot of that going on. What's that? One of these days, Frank, we're going to have a San Bernardino. I don't know when, I don't know where, but it's going to happen. That's why I'm so upset. My candidate, who was running against me this year, has posted a couple of times, well, this is cruel, this is inhumane, this is unchristian, and on and on. And I'm saying, wait a minute. If there's one violent refugee contained within the mix, that's one too many. And that can do a lot of damage, as we saw in San Bernardino. Talking about the feds letting them, the feds met with that couple out there twice. 2 interviews with the federal agencies before they were allowed in. They still didn't pick them up. So they want to get in, they'll pretend like they're the choir boy. But once they're here, they're going to advertise and get together and then we don't know what's going to happen.
So what is your answer, Brooks Patterson, to dealing with this refugee issue? What should
I think you really did have to start saying, okay, Western Europe, South America, maybe Mexico, but certainly most of the countries are coming here now with from the intention to be part of this great country, the Middle East, and we know they think of it, they want to kill it, they keep scanning and death to America, and then it's the educated, it's the people in their parliaments and in their legislatures. I think you got to turn this spigot off on that location until we come up with a better process. I remember when the thing first came to light, I don't know, there was almost a project, I guess, and he said, hit the pause button. I think he missed the button, hit the accelerate button, because now Michigan leads the nation in refugee resettlement. And that's just dangerous. And so when my opponent accuses me of those things, I said, look, I'd rather err on the side of caution. I mean, I listen to people I represent not engaging back those programs that put them or the families at risk. So I make no apologies for it.
Well, you're going to get accused of sounding like Donald Trump here, you know that.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's already happened. She says, he's the local metaphor. They call me the local Donald Trump. I don't care. I'm doing my job. Public, I think, understands what I'm trying to do is protect them. Even though I'm not a law enforcement, the law enforcement in this county is basically Democrats are going along with it. County treasurer, any imagine, is really sort of leading back locally. So, okay, you're coming on the wrong side of this issue, I think he is.
Well, you got better hair than Trump, so.
Yeah.
He's got more, but you have better. So that's the issue there. Hey, final point on all of this, though, Brooks, is you said that the state of Michigan, the governor had said he wants to hit the pause button on this, and he missed it and hit accelerate. Have you been in touch with Lansing to try to?
Oh, yeah.
What do they tell you when you contact the Snyder administration on this issue?
Well, it's surprised. I think even that the actual eight departments agency, Department of Health, is that Nick Ryan you just had on?
I'm sorry? Yeah, we did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, well, he came to the table with his boss, and they saying, well, actually, angered that we would even question their judgment and their ability. And I said, look, everybody in the federal government, from the FBI director to Attorney General, well, not the Attorney General, FBI director to National Security Administration to several generals, say it is inevitable that they're going to an infantry, and this is a perfect way to do it. And it just falls on deaf ears, and so we just keep bringing them. Now we went up from $85,000 to $120,000. And Michigan leads the way. I don't think the public knows that.
No, and here's the other thing is that one of our listeners had a question about: are these people coming here? Do they have businesses that they're creating? Are they?
Oh no, every one of them. Maybe 99%. Every one of them goes on welfare, food stamps. They get cash assistance for housing. They get educational support. And even have to send interpreters to class. Because the children can't speak English, so that's another cost to the local community. And no, they absolutely are not being assimilated into our workforce, into our cultural organizations. They don't want to. That's the point. They don't want to become part of America as we know it. And they want Sharia law. And when they get sufficient numbers, they start demanding Sharia law. And that's you'll see that as the next step.
Brooks Patterson, we really appreciate the time this morning. Thanks for shedding more light on this. Good luck as you keep up the fight against it.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Frank.
And we'll talk again soon. Brooks Patterson, the Oakland County Executive.
Brooks Patterson is one of the most significant politicians that we have in the state of Michigan. He's accepted the gauntlet that's been thrown down, and he's fighting the fight. And if he can't be successful, that tells you that we must get more people involved so that we can then become successful.
May I make a suggestion?
What is that?
The ones that need to be involved, the National Rifle Association. I'm serious when I say that.
And what happened when Donald Trump made a comment like that? It became fodder for politics.
Yeah.
And that fodder, by the way, is what is a fuse that's been lit that could be a catastrophe for the possible demise of both current candidates for the Republican and Democratic Party. And it'll be blamed on the National Rifle Association people.
However, where I'm coming from is to be understood is the Declaration of Independence.
Rational, clear-thinking people should follow, but the pot is being stirred, and people are operating on emotion. Brooks Patterson is operating on logic. L. Brooks Patterson is a leader. He must know that other people in the state are behind him in trying to wrestle this ugly monster to the ground.
Our militia is behind him. That's a state right.
Okay, we'll just leave that one for now.
Okay.
We have a National Guard that has chain of command. The National Guard is and what should be our state militia
Right.
to deal with those things. When you start speaking militia now, you're talking about the people from the Thumb area who got blamed for the bombing in Kansas. All right? So whenever that word, all we're doing is,
I'm just using Thomas Jefferson's words because
this is not Thomas Jefferson's time any longer. We're operating under the documents that they set in place that have validity today. However, there's lack of understanding. There is limited understanding. The laws are in place for order and organization to our society, but the reins have been taken over by people who want, Howard Pibbins is the expression, I think, of overloading the system to bring the system down. Back in 1967, 68, 69, I was a student at Eastern Michigan University when the radicals were demonstrating in the streets, and those folks now are the ones running universities and in fact are running our government. And their intentions then are what they're still trying to accomplish now. And our guns are our final recourse, but only to protect ourselves, not to be used offensively to try to take out those that have gained control.
Right.
We are a people of laws, and we must operate individually under law, not vigilanteism.
Right.
And all it takes is a small group to agree, and then it grows and grows, and it can get ugly.
Mike,
The clock is ticking.
would you agree that all these different camps that the Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Qaeda have, they have 26 camps within 16 states?
We have, excuse me, start to sound like Hillary Clinton at a clock. Let me clear that up. No, that's not mine. But here, Tim, people at high places, people who have significant experience, generals, know every single camp. They know all the training that's going on. They've had the reins of authority pulled away from them by a commander-in-chief who thinks the world should be balanced. And there were statements made at the United Nations just this past week about how, in my own words, the United States is too uppity. We just got to simmer ourselves down and start giving away to other people because we just got too much.
You mentioned Bill Schuette. Everybody should know that he's going to be running for governor. Has he commented on this situation yet?
I have no idea. I don't know. I'm certain he should be aware.
I'm sure
But here, L. Brooks Patterson said that they were about to file a lawsuit, but they didn't.
I called Governor Snyder yesterday about this, and talked to the aide, and told him all about it, because my mother was a nurse too. She used to have to wear a mask working with TB patients at Veterans Hospital in the 50s. And when I used to work as a nurse's aide back in the 60s, I had to wash a bed with soap and water in another room because someone had TB. But it was all eradicated in the late 90s. And I know you were a teacher, you knew. I had to go every year to get checked for TB, every year. In the late 90s, they finally said, oh, we don't have to do it now because it's eradicated. But now, I was bringing it here, and it's hard to get rid of it, and it's very contagious. All you do is cough, you can get it.
Right, we had to have regular, every year, TB tests.
Terrible. Yep.
One thing, on Wednesday, I contacted Sharon Lolio at Bill Schuette's office, at the Attorney General's office, concerning the refugees that are coming in that are not vetted, that have a wife, and they take secretly 3 more wives, and they have so many children, and that is putting an economic strain on the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services because they're committing bigamy, polygamy, having more than one wife, which is against, all 50 states have laws against that.
If you went from household to household in Ypsilanti, you'll find people that are illegally living with each other, that are having multiple partners, and so that gets into a whole side issue that I understand you
It's
have
been
an interest
reported in the Detroit News.
But
And what they're doing is they report one wife while they take 3 more wives in Sharia law sections of Dearborn, Michigan.
let me just ask you this, Tim. How does that affect the course of this country?
It affects the state of Michigan through the Department of Health and Human Services because it puts an economic strain on the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and our tax dollars that go to support that.
It's an insignificant amount in the big budget dollars that we have, Tim. But I hear what you're saying, but I think that is a way low priority of what's going on.
And
We've got to make it, first of all, to the next election in November.
most of the
And then-
imams are discouraging it, but there are some in Dearborn and radical mosques that are saying populate so that we can take over.
Tim, it's part of the culture,
Yeah.
and we're not part of that culture.
Yep. They want to do that.
And we can't go into that culture and change it. All we can do is take back our liberties and our freedoms. And hope for the best. Joe.
If Governor Snyder continues to push this, would this be an issue we could recall him on?
He's leaving office.
Yeah, there's,
It's probably too late.
it's not that he's pushing it, he's just disregarding it. That's what Bill Schuette is just kind of disregarding it. It's not that big of an issue. Time's going to pass, there can be another election. Right now, our whole focus should be on the election. That's why I was going to talk about the slate of candidates.
Because when Schuette runs for governor, this is not something that he's going to
But
be.
that's not going to happen until after the current election occurs. And until that outcome is known. Right now, we're just spitting in the wind. All right? So what we have to do is prioritize the things that are important, that we can make a difference on today. We cannot make a difference with regard to one man and 12 wives, because that's okay
But if we get Trump in there, in this most recent election,
And if we do
that may solve our whole problem.
but that matter is really low on the priority list too.
What,
So-
getting Trump elected?
No. Dealing with multiple wives.
Polygamy.
Kids that we gotta take care of.
Mike,
But I'm saying, if we get Trump in there, that could solve our problem.
Right. So you need to continue doing what you've been doing, which is having, in fact, I watched it on YouTube, at Carpenter Road and Washington Road.
Right. And we're having one come up this Tuesday, for anybody that's interested. And for anybody else that's interested, if you would like to actively get involved in getting Donald Trump elected, you can, for instance, call people from your cell phone with an app downloaded to your cell phone and make calls to absentee voters to get them to vote for Trump.
Mike, I wanted to say they're the only recourse legally for the Michigan voters, the registered voters in the state of Michigan, the taxpayers in the state of Michigan. When it comes to our politicians in the state of Michigan in different branches, is a legal term called writ of mandamus. What that means is, like, for instance, the smart meter people that are angry about the about the law that is not being enforced regarding the Fourth Amendment. They could legally, and there has been talk, filing a writ of mandamus against it's a non-surveillance act of 1938, something like that, filing a writ of mandamus against Attorney General Bill Schuette, and then he would have to answer to rule of law judge, the Michigan Supreme Court Chief Justice Bob Young.
I will challenge you, Tim, to write down on a piece of paper your 3 priority issues. If that is one of them, then you need to, this week, get in your truck, drive to Lansing, go into Bill Schuette's office building and ask the receptionist if you can talk to Sharon Lowell. Because these are 3 things that concern you significantly. You come here to deal with it and then see where that goes. But only 3 things, Tim. I want to get you focused.
I'm just saying the writ of mandamus, it doesn't matter what the topic is, that's our only recourse.
Then if you know that recourse, you have, I know, negative effect physically because of the smart meters and how that energy messes with you. If that's one of your top 3 matters, you just described a path to a possible solution. Get on that road, follow that path, and see people to make it happen. Be a man of action. I challenge you.
I've encouraged people in the
Go to
not go
people.
that route yet.
Go to people who have authority that can make a difference that you have connection to already. You have connection to Sharon Lowell. You already have connection to Bill Schuette. He's poured coffee in your cup.
Yes, he has.
All right?
Mine too.
So that having been said, enough is enough of wasting time and being distracted on too many issues. That's why I presented an agenda in an email last week that has too many issues. Right now, one issue that has come to light today that we can do something about is the refugee resettlement.
Yeah.
And that is a high element on both candidates.
Oh, yes.
And Al Brooks Patterson is a big voice, a little weaker in how he projects right now. However, if a difference is going to be made, we got to get behind doers and people with authority. Be a doer at your level and notch up. All right? And I'm here to simply help folks kind of get a focus and take a direction. And then people will come around you because that'll also be part of their focus and their direction, and because one person can't get much done. 5 people can get more done, but 500 even more, and 5,000 even more than that. All right? And then there's just so much going on because of what's going on in Charlotte too, by the way, where 150 people have consumed so much media airtime. And a young African-American guy lost his life as one of the demonstrators.
One of those 2 guys that have been going around to our Tea Party, to Western Washington, they've been going all over the state giving the conferences. Have they been in touch with L. Brooks Patterson?
Yes, they have. We had a conference call in here 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and what did...
And so they're involved. They actually live up in Oakland County area. But again, the obstacle is the man in the White House right now.
Yeah.
And that's why...
Who, per the Breitbart article, is disregarded and condescending. And we saw Jay Johnson a couple weeks ago kind of looking down and condescending.
That's why I think for the next 6 weeks or so, our most pertinent focus should be on getting Donald Trump elected. And for everybody in here, that means more than just putting up a yard sign and wearing a t-shirt or a bumper sticker on your car. That means getting out there and actively advocating for Donald Trump in some manner or fashion. Because we got to get him elected. And if he doesn't get elected, we can kiss this country goodbye.
First thing that's going to happen is an appointment to the Supreme Court, which will completely liberalize the Supreme Court. And nothing will be able to be done about that thereafter, even if Hillary Clinton gets impeached in 2 weeks thereafter. All right? It's serious, serious stuff. And that having been said...
We picked our own Supreme Courts before, though. You know, picked a liberal and they turned out conservative. You pick a conservative, they turned out liberal.
But
it doesn't happen most of the time, but it can.
But know this too, it's part of the cesspool that's out there and how the game is played in the big league. We know that Justice Antonin Scalia passed on mysteriously, and we don't know what would have, could have, or what was said to John Roberts. All right, and I think it's more than his kids, however they came into his household. There's more to the story of control over those who have positions of authority. And we can't do anything about that down there. All we can do is something here, and that is do our best to get a change, a serious change. And we got to get active to do that.
Do you have a copy of that 1980 Refugee Act?
If you go, it'll be in the email. Do you get the email broadcast? I'll put it in there because in that Breitbart article, it was blue, which meant if you would have clicked on that, it would have brought it up.
I'll call L. Brooks Patterson on that because can the federal government break, a federal government director of a federal government agency break a state law?
Obama's not supposed to break the law.
If they're breaking federal law right now,
It's a law against
The cesspool is so polluted that those in power and authority can do whatever they don't want to please.
That's what they're doing too.
And L. Brooks Patterson called them out on the law,
Yeah.
and they said, forget you, we're doing it our way.
But he's
That was the headline.
But Patterson's suing them.
I think he backed off on the lawsuit because it'll be a waste of time and effort and fun and resources. He just backed off. That's kind of what I heard him say.
he can file.
And so, Tim, it's the same thing I'm talking to you about. You got to make your best effort to go to Schuette's office to deal with that writ of mandamus that you talked about. But you'll find out that, okay, that's not going to go anywhere. So where can I now best put my effort and energy to make something happen?
I just thought maybe that L. Brooks Patterson could file a writ of mandamus against the federal government.
He's had his attorneys, as he said, investigate. He's had meetings. We can only imagine the level of how deep they went into what the alternatives were that they could call on to resolve his concern and other people in my county where I live, Oakland County.
It kind of frightens me to think that if I go into Oakland County one evening and I'm at Somerset Mall or someplace in Oakland County and I take my daughter there and we're at a mall and somebody comes in there and starts stabbing people,
Tim,
you know, or does
Tim,
a
it's
terrorist
far
act.
beyond that. Briarwood Mall here,
Yeah.
anywhere in the country right now. It's to that point.
They said in the paper yesterday, Broomfield Hills, West Broomfield Hills, Broomfield Township, Madison Heights, and Troy, 500, and then Quantico.
I know, but there could be 3 people who are refugees, because we don't know where they're at, living in Milan, Michigan.
Yeah.
And something really bad can happen in Milan.
Now, Channel 4 the other night, they said he is filing a lawsuit, but that's what he said in Channel, he was talking himself on Channel 4, and that's the first time I ever heard anybody on the mainstream media talk about TB being brought by the refugees. Patterson mentioned it.
And that's just that one disease.
I heard it on talk radio a lot, but never on the mainstream nation talking about it.
Folks, there's a ton of directions that I can take us into, but what I need to do now is focus, and Joe's already put it the right way. It's a matter of establishing who are the candidates that we need to put effort behind in order to help get them elected to office. From the candidate for president, to the candidate for sheriff, to the candidate for school board. In Washtenaw County, the Willow Tea Party caucus is a primarily Washtenaw County group. We have some Wayne County folks in Van Buren Township, Belleville, and we have a Milford folk here. Right. But for all practical and intent purposes, we are Washtenaw County. So we need to concern ourselves with what's going on here. And John, you're a frequent Washtenaw County guy. You come into the VA hospital, so you probably spend a few days there too.
Yeah.
And I know that one of our guys who moved to Adrian,
I talked to him earlier today.
you know, there's, yeah. And so it's hard to get anything going down in that county.
They have one meeting a month. They're talking,
So here's what I want to do is just kind of bring us to a conclusion here so that we can, I'm going to pull up the Washtenaw County candidates. And about 3 hours ago, I walked the halls of Lincoln High School. And I'm going to go to the school board meeting there. And one of the school board trustees is a guy who graduated 3 years after I did there. And his term expires December 31st, which means that there's someone running for his seat on the school board, and I don't know if he's running. So I need to find that out. And I'll see that on this little sheet here. Because there are things going on that I can do through that school that nobody else can do. Because I introduced myself to one of the secretaries there today, and I said that you're going to see me around here quite a bit, because this school year is my 50th anniversary of my senior year school year here. So I'm going to be involved with a group that's going to be involved with the homecoming, and they don't even know about it yet. Well, I want to try to find a 1967 Mustang convertible so that the 1967 66, 67 homecoming queen can actually be part of the parade, and we can put together a little float that'll be part of the parade, and then we can have a gathering, a dance, a homecoming dance in what used to be our cafeteria back in the day. But while I'm doing this, I'm also going to deal with the traditions and deal with talking with the science teachers about, we just got done editing out the Skyler alert stuff on the Look Up video that I showed you a couple weeks ago. Now, that's information that I need to get to Dr. Ben Carson so that it can be part of Donald Trump's campaign.
This is a Washington County school.
Ypsilanti, Lincoln.
And don't you have to live in the area to be on the board?
I'm not running for the school board, I'm just gonna hang out.
But you're a former alumni.
I'm an alumni. So I have standing, if you will, because it's my school, if you will. And so I will be able to walk the halls because I'm flat out going to just barge in and take care of business. So that having been said, I want to just bring us to a close tonight so we can have conversation, discussion about where we're going, what we're doing, and the next thing. So I'm just going to bring this up and we'll just have, I'm going to shut this thing off. And we'll talk about what we see up here.
Still
Scott, when I get to, we only got one or two topics for a night, I'll be able to just call for a meeting. But what you can do with something like this too is cut and paste.